Hi all, this is May and welcome back to my channel for a brand new speed build. So today I am making a British inspired cottage in Henford on Bagley. This is actually also going to be a part of my save file, even though this is a world I am not fully focusing on right now. But I just made this really cute sim, goes into gardening and flower arranging, and then I felt inspired to make him a home in Henford on Bagley. Like a cottage of some sorts that would fit into this world. And I do have to say this isn't really a style that I've built a lot, but I would dare to say this could potentially be an English or British cottage. Sometimes I don't dare to say something is a certain style because I'm no expert by any means, and then it will be maybe pointed out if anything is not 100% correct, but yeah, so I feel like I'm more inclined to say something is inspired by a certain style or area, if you will. And before we head further into the video though, as always, I do have a playlist up on my channel with all the builds I've done so far, so if you haven't checked it out, make sure to do so after this video. So just getting that out of the way as usual, and yeah, I just felt like doing something different. So usually these days my focus when building is on Windenburg, Brindleton Bay and Sulani. I mean, I've barely begun on those, but at the same time I kind of want to wait until the new Adventure Awaits pack is released because I feel like some of the items in that pack will work really well for the worlds I just mentioned. Like I want to have kayaking to some of my Sulani builds, for example. I think kayaking could be really fun in Sulani because there are lots of different islands and lots of open water, of course. Like, I'm definitely thinking of having a sim be into that. It just makes sense to me. So I would love to take the opportunity to include some of those items and activities. And I've mentioned this in a couple of my previous speed builds, but I want to make different getaways for those worlds. Like maybe a bed and breakfast in Brindleton Bay and a romantic getaway in Sulani, things like that. So I'm definitely still in the planning phase for some of the builds and households that I want to include in those worlds. I can't say I've made a lot of new families quite yet. I have to be honest and say that I haven't really been able to fully focus on like save file work lately because, well, it's important to take care of yourself too. Like I haven't felt the best physically and mentally, and when that happens it is good for me to take a step back, recharge, focus on some other things. So I've been doing that, and I've also been applying to a lot of different jobs now that summer vacation has been over for like over a month and two almost already where I live. But yeah, the general unemployment situation here is also kind of bad from what I can tell because for one job, there can be like 200 to 300 people applying. So standing out is kind of difficult, I would have to say. So there has been a lot of rejections, but luckily, finally, I'm having a job interview at the end of September. So I'm crossing my fingers for that one. It would be really nice to get something because it's been a little while now already where I haven't worked. And therefore it meant even more that people like you guys have been supporting my save file and the early access version of that by pledging on my Patreon, and even the save file tour and overview video has done really well, so I'm really happy with how that has turned out. So I guess I just want to say thank you, it really means a lot, and yeah, I hope the interview will go well. I have already written down some notes and all to prepare myself, so hopefully I will be well prepared for that. I do have to say though, job interviews kind of scare me. They stress me out. I swear, like put me in any social situation and I will overthink and get anxious. But I feel like that's just how I am. I am quite introverted. I feel like it is a miracle at all that I make voiceovers and like do the things that I do, like content creation wise. But I do have to say I quite enjoy storytelling, so being able to do that through The Sims is really nice. And I also grew up playing The Sims, like all the versions from Sims 1 to Sims 4. I played those. And I never really imagined myself doing what I do now with content creation and everything. So I guess it's a bit weird or like sentimental, I guess, to look back at what I've been able to accomplish over the last 4 to 5 years I've been doing this, all the people I've been able to meet and get to know, and especially now with the Save File project, I'm really happy I was able to like finish it up. That was definitely one of my big goals for this year. And it feels even more like an accomplishment because the Save File project was more or less just a thing that I jumped into doing last year on a whim, I would say. So I'm feeling both happy, but yeah, a bit sentimental at the same time, if that's a good way of explaining it. And like, I'm happy that everyone can get the save file now, playing it. And I know it's just 3 renovated worlds and there's so much left to do, but I try my best not to think about how long it will take because it will stress me out. And like I said, I've just been feeling like I need to take a break after the release of the save and I don't know, just like reflect a bit on some stuff. I feel like that's always important to do, to take care of yourself, like I mentioned earlier. And yeah, just a little life yap there, I guess, before we talk more about today's build and who's going to be living here. So what kind of inspired this entire build was the sim that's going to be living here. This will also be a part of my save file, as mentioned earlier, and I made the sim Fergus Muddlebrook and his cat Sprout on stream over on Twitch one day, like a couple of weeks back, I think by now. And his storyline is that he's very much a gardening lover. He's into growing plants, taking care of them, and he also knows how to do flower arranging. So there's going to be a small garden outdoors here with the cottage living garden patches that I love to use. You can grow regular flowers, herbs, veggies, and so on. But with a cottage living pack, you can also grow oversized crops such as pumpkins, lettuce, watermelons, and so on. And I love to do that when doing gameplay. If there's like one thing I really love to do, it's gardening or farm-styled gameplay. I would almost say it's a bit therapeutic, as weird as that probably sounds, but I'm sure a lot of you guys feel the same about The Sims. Unless you're into more like chaotic gameplay, which I do know a lot of people enjoy too. For me, I'm more into the cozy family gameplay with anything outdoorsy being a bonus. But sometimes I have to say I lean into the chaos of The Sims, I do. And that's just a part of The Sims' charm as well, I have to say. So yeah, the garden patches will be here, and on the side of the house there is a small bump out, and that's where you will find a small workshop or like storage basically. In there you will also find some painting stuff such as the easel and some canvases, because Fergus, he used to be married. His wife passed away maybe a couple years back or so by now, and then he got Sprout the cat after that. Because I feel like cats and dogs can bring a lot of company and love, and especially after losing someone you've been with for a very long time, like decades, I would imagine it would get quite lonely, to be honest. Like the house suddenly feels very big and empty. So that's what I thought of for Fergus here, and I'm planning on having his wife's urn in the house somewhere, and I was thinking of making their kids as part of the save file as well. So I'll have to see what I do about that in the future, but I was thinking they would have a daughter and a son who now are adults and having their own families. And that's also why there will be 3 bedrooms in this house, because the kids used to live here, of course, and Fergus and his wife kept living here even if the house probably was a bit too big for just the 2 of them. But I guess that can be realistic. At least for me, my grandparents, they lived in the same house for like 60 years or so, even after their 3 kids moved out and all, so it's definitely possible and realistic in some cases. So those 2 extra bedrooms on the 2nd floor here in this house, they will be used more for storage now than anything else, even if there are beds in both of the rooms. So maybe if their kids or grandkids want to stay over, then that would be possible. There's like even a weight machine in one of the rooms as well, but I'm not sure if that's something he uses or if it's just gathering dust. But yeah, you will see the upstairs of this house later on in the video. Because right now I'm focusing on the downstairs, and I would say the living room turned out quite cozy and lived in. And I think I managed to give this room and house that older look and feel that I wanted to go for. Like, it looks a bit old and dated, but still cozy and family friendly. So lots of couches here with throw pillows. I love this fireplace from the Cats and Dogs expansion pack. And I've added in a couple of these like cat statues on the fireplace shelf there because I imagined maybe Fergus's wife liked to collect those and maybe they even used to have cats before as well. But yeah, I think she would have been a collector. I also added a painting on the fireplace there. I always feel like that's such a nice idea, and I usually do that, like either add a painting or a TV. So I could have placed a TV there, but instead I added one of these small ones on a table in the corner, just to keep that more like cluttered, older feel. And I love using the small old debug TV from the Eco Lifestyle pack. The curtains I use in this room, and I think basically every other room in this house, are from the Cats and Dogs pack as well. I just think this one has a lot of grid swatches and patterns that work really well for this type of house and interior style. I can't say I've done a lot of houses with this style before, so it was a bit new for me and outside of my comfort zone, but surprisingly I quite like how this turned out regardless. And yeah, I just cluttered up the coffee table there, added a couple of pictures on different walls here, and placed a good old armchair next by the TV that I thought it would be perfect for reading because it also has a standing lamp right behind it, and maybe it was used for knitting back in the day as well. The kitchen in this house is quite small, I would have to say, but I'm not sure if kitchens just were smaller back in the day. They were definitely not as open as they are today, where you have the kitchen and living room, dining room even, go seamlessly with one another. Here, everything is closed in with walls and everything, so you have a small kitchen, but it has everything you need, and that's the most important part. And then you have the dining room connected to it, and that room is another one that I think turned out quite cozy and on theme with the rest of the house. I really wanted to add another one of those fireplaces, so I did that, and because there's one window on either side of that, I added some counter space below them. So usually I would use the normal counters, but since I didn't have enough space for that, I decided to choose the end pieces instead, because those are usually less wide, like they're smaller, and those fit perfectly there. So I like this idea better than having any regular end tables because those would be too big as well, like the hallway tables. So yeah, quite happy with that, and I just added some different clutter on top of them, like some display plates, flowers, I think there is a gramophone, candles, and so on. And this time for the fireplace, I actually added a mirror, and I rotated it using the tool mod by Twisted Mexi, so it looks like the mirror is kind of leaning against the fireplace. So that's another thing you could add along with the painting and TV. I love the chairs I used for the dining table here. These are from the Cats and Dogs pack. The green cushions stand very in style with the curtains, and I just love those details matching. One thing I usually don't add to my houses are carpet floorings, but since this is again an older home, I thought why not? The pattern on that is quite pretty and it looks good here, in my opinion at least. And just on the other side of the dining table, there was a lot of open wall space, so I decided to mix and match different photos. This is another thing I quite like to do in houses that are supposed to be a bit older. I'm not sure entirely why I do that, but I guess more than anything, I just like how it looks. And yeah, sometimes I think that's more than a good enough reason to add something in a Sims house. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention it, but I was thinking of adding a potential love interest for Fergus in Henford and Bagley. Someone who's probably been through the same as Fergus with, you know, like losing their long-term partner. And it does happen sometimes that you find love again, even at an older age, like Fergus here. And I'm thinking their romantic relationship isn't going to be too serious or anything at the start. There will just be a tiny bit of pink on their romance bar. So there is a potential, and then you can decide if this is something you would want to play out or not. Like anything in my save file, really, nothing set in stone. Like whatever storyline I come up with are just ideas, because I do know that some people have a harder time coming up with storylines and ideas, and me sharing mine as a starting point can help you get started, if that makes sense. But yeah, the idea of two elderly Sims, possibly neighbors, being interested in one another was an idea that one of my friends gave me, so shout out to Katie. So I'm thinking that this potential partner or love interest could have their own family as well, like maybe even living together, sort of like a household with multiple generations. There are quite a few larger lots in Henford and Bagley, so I'm sure I will make some farms, ranches, anything like that. I think that would be fun. And like a ranch sounds really cute in this world, like with horses. So maybe the partner would have grown up on the ranch, surrounded by horses. I really do love that idea, so I think I'm gonna write that down for later. Also, I would love to build some sort of bed and breakfast in Henford and Bagley as well. I know that there aren't too many lots in this world. I wish there were more, to be honest. But yeah, that's definitely something I'm thinking of making eventually, and also a new bar, perhaps. I think that would make sense, and I think you need a bar here for certain quests and aspirations. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I know at least there is a sim who works at the bar who can give you errands and stuff. So I'll try to take that into consideration for when the time comes for me to actually like fully focus on Henford and Bagley. But yeah, I think a bed and breakfast could be a nice addition as well. Like maybe on one of those lots along the town square. I never really know what to build there except for residentials, and I feel like I'm not too good at making those in that certain style you will find around the town square. Like, I'm not able to make them look interesting enough, especially if there aren't too many bump outs. And I do like my bump outs on houses, I can't lie. I also did make a cemetery a while back, like after we got Life and Death. I did make a cemetery in Henford and Bagley. That is actually in my save file. So if you have like played in Henford and Bagley in my save file, you might have noticed it. Yeah, I'm not sure if I will do like even like another community lot, but I'll just have to see what would be a good fit, to be honest. And if any of you have any ideas, do let me know. I've also been thinking of a cafe or bakery actually, but I'm not too sure if that's too close to a bar. It might be. I'm not too sure. I also do want to mention that I am going to be part of a small collab with two other amazing Sims builders, Rachel Pad and Simmer Sims, where we renovate Forgotten Hollow for Halloween, like Halloween season, the autumnal season. So I feel like I need to slowly but surely start on that soon too, so that I don't get overwhelmed, because I will be doing Vlad's Manor. I've never built on that specific lot before. I've done maybe not even a handful of builds in Forgotten Hollow, but I thought it would be a nice challenge to do for Halloween and fall season. So I'm looking forward to that, and if possible, I would love it if I could sneak in that build into my own save file too, now that I'm doing it. So yeah, I might do that because I already have one house done in Forgotten Hollow for my save file. And yeah, I guess just other than that, I think I've mentioned everything I want for this build. So I'm just finishing up the build here and we'll soon head into the screenshots. So that's basically it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more content in the future. If you want to be notified of when I upload a video next, make sure to click the bell icon too. This build is playtested and up on my gallery. My ID is honeymaysims, or you can find me with the hashtag honeymaysims as well. You can also grab the tray files in the description. And as always, a big shout out to my Patreon supporters and my YouTube members. I appreciate you so much. So thank you all so much for hanging out with me today, and I can't wait to talk to you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Bye!